Good morning. I got into camp late last night, so I didn't bother doing the time lapse of me taking my camp out of my pack and putting it up. I wanted to try and beat the sunset so that I didn't have to put up camp in the dark. Getting ready to have breakfast, just watch the sunrise, and hopefully it'll be a good morning. This morning I'm having something called bandito scramble, so it's eggs, potato, cheese with some spices and chili, so it's a little bit spicy. And last night I had couscous with shrimp. A friend of mine pointed out that a lot of the food I eat is way too much sodium in it. Now granted, you do want extra sodium on the trail, but I'm just camping in a state park for the time being to test out gear and to have something to do, so I don't need that much sodium. So the couscous and shrimp last night was only about 15% of the daily recommended value. And today I've got some apples, some crackers, some almonds, and an ear corn. So I've got some other things to add to my diet, and I tried to do a few low sodium options just for you, Jessica. Anyway, I'm going to get breakfast started, have some coffee. I don't have too many projects planned for this camping trip. I mostly just plan on relaxing, getting out of the house. I'm on COVID quarantine after coming in contact with someone who tested positive for COVID rather, and my company has decided to have all of us quarantine. Since my park is still closed from the storm damage that we had with the ice storm, it's not too big of a deal. Other than that, I plan on just kind of hanging around, relaxing this weekend, getting out of the house. I know I've been in my wife's hair, and it's probably good for both of us and our marriage for me to be out of the house for a while camping again. And I'm going to work on some knots and some projects this weekend with ropes and knot tying. That's going to be my big project. And other than that, we'll see. I might do some fishing or hiking. But yeah, thanks for coming along. Hopefully you have a good time. I know I'm going to. So it is lunchtime, and I am having a little bit of a better lunch today, something more car camp style. I'm having an apple, I'm having cracked black pepper Triscuits, I'm having some almonds, and some sharp cheddar cheese. And the cool thing about this cheese is a lot of people don't know the harder cheeses, like your sharp cheddars, can be stored without refrigeration. They just don't last as long. Where this might last a month or more in the refrigerator, it's only going to last a couple of days to a week. Normal temperatures. It is about 63 degrees. It'll get up to 70 today, the same as yesterday. And this has been out for 2 days now with no cooler, no refrigeration, and it's perfectly fine. It's just a neat little thing to know whenever you're backpacking or just out camping. Something like that is great. And I don't have to fool with a cooler and ice and all of that weight and clean up. So pretty nice. So I just finished my lunch and I'm enjoying the view. And I thought to mention, try out these toe warmers. Basically there's a sticker adhesive on the back that sticks to your sock. You don't want to put them directly against your skin, but it sticks to the outside of your sock and you wear them in a boot all day. I used them to sleep last night because my feet get cold easy, even whenever I'm at home. And they work pretty well. They didn't really get too warm or anything. That was my fear. The hot hands get far too hot to put it directly against my feet, I think. But these are thinner, and I slept well with them. I put them on the outside of my wool sock and put a cotton sock over that just to help hold them in place. I don't know if I needed to, but made me feel better about doing it. And I recommend them. Another little tip with these, I get them when they're on clearance. So wait until the season is over, the cold season is over, and go to places like Walmart and check out the clearance aisles. I paid $1.25 a pack for these. These come in a two-pack, so 4 of these total, so you can use them twice. And the hot hands are the same way. You get two pairs for about $0.25. I stocked up on them. I filled up a Walmart sack completely full of them. I have like 30 or 35 packages of these total, which is about 60 sets to use, and it only cost me a couple of dollars. So be on the lookout for that. Hey, today's theme, if you will, something I'm working on all day, is paracord and ropes, especially usage in camp, things that I can make, and learning some new knots that are useful. I'll show you a few of those here in a moment. I always carry a 6 to 10 foot section of paracord on me. I use it a lot in camp, and I even carry it at my job because I work outdoors there as well, and it has a million uses. So we're going to look at a few of them, and I'll teach you a few of the cool knots as well. All right, first knot I'm going to show you, it is the knot that I have my tarp tied to a tree with at the moment. I do not know the name of it, but it's kind of a sliding, slippery hitch knot. I'm going to show you what it looks like, and hopefully that explains it a little bit. I'm going to hang it on this line here. So essentially, I've got two ends. This is my shorter end on my left. I'm just going to reach over, pinch, and make a loop. With my right hand, I'm going to use my thumb to make a new loop through the first. Then this little short end is going to go under everything and through this last loop that I made. I'm going to switch ends, pull tight, push. And now this will hold its own weight. The knot will not break. The rope will break before this knot will break. It'll hold everything you can give it. And whenever you're ready to finish, all you have to do is give it a tug. This is also what I use to tie my food back up at the end of the night. Right, so this is my food sack. In here I have my fresh fruit and vegetables, and I'm using this knot to keep it tied. It comes apart instantly, just like this. All right, just for fun, I've tied a little section of a ladder. I only had about 20 feet of cord, so I've only got 3 rungs, but it is attached to a tree, and we are going to test it out. Hopefully this is not what they play at my funeral to show how I died. So as you can see, it holds my weight. I don't recommend making one of these, but it's kind of a neat little project. Okay, this is a handy knot. Let's say this is a corner of my tarp that the grommet is missing or was torn, and I want to tie a rope to this so I can still stake this into the ground. This is a knot you will use. We're going to use this bundle. I'll teach you how to tie this in a minute. This is really handy, even just for earbuds for everyday carry. It's going to look like this. We're going to fold up. We're going to do 3 wraps around behind. 1, 2, 3. On the 4th time, we'll take this little end that we made. We're going to do a slippery half hitch, pull that snug, and now I can tie this off. It's going to hold really well just to the string. I don't have to do anything extra. It won't tear this cloth. And the great thing too, whenever I'm done, all I have to do is pull right here, and the whole thing comes undone, easy peasy. All right, I'm going to show you how to make this coil of rope, or how to tie this. It's a great little way to keep your cordage from getting all tangled in your pocket, and you can do this with earbuds or anything else like that. Basically, whenever you're done, it comes right apart. No tangle, no mess. So the way we're going to do this is use our first finger and our ring finger. So those are the ones to watch. I'll put the other 2 out of the way. I'm going to start with the small end down. It doesn't matter which side it's on, but essentially we're going to come around, and then we're going to go on the opposite side. And I tend to always go behind. So I'm going to wrap around my pinky, cross over in front, and we're just making an X every time like this. And when you can, go behind instead of in front. So go behind like this. Whenever you're almost out of cord and you've got about 8 inches or a foot left, I'm going to pinch in the middle and pull this off, and you can see I've left a big loop here. So I'm going to wrap this around, going away from that loop, and pull those loops a little tight. Whoops. Pull those loops a little tight, and once I have a few loops, I'm going to take this, thread it right through the center of that hole, and then pull down just a little bit. And if you want to find that other end that you first started with and tuck it through the opposite side, you can, and that basically just kind of locks this in place. And whenever you put this in your pocket, I guarantee you, if you've tied this correctly, your earbuds or your cord is not going to get tangled at all. I'm sitting here editing some of my video, and there are suddenly robins and cedar waxwings, red-winged blackbirds, and cardinals everywhere around my camp. I'm going to try to show them to you on camera, but I don't know how well the camera's going to pick them up since they're so small. And the more you become used to it and they become used to you, you just get to see so much cool stuff. All right, here in camp, I'm going to start my fire a little early today since I have some extra wood. I usually try and start my fire with the primitive method, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so for the heat of my fire, I'm going to use a spark. I use a flint and steel. Here's a piece of flint. Here's my steel striker. I don't know if the camera can pick that up or not, but I can make some decent sparks with that. And I'm going to catch those sparks with some char cloth. So this is char cloth. It's basically kind of like charcoal. You make it the same way, just some blue jean material, old blue jeans that are ripped on me. That'll catch a spark and hold it. Once I catch the spark, I'll bring this in and show you what it does. And to give myself a little advantage, I'm going to use a fire stick. So this is a Native American fire stick concept. Essentially, this stuff here is a kind of a pine resin. I'll try and get that in focus for you. It's not going to work. So it's a pine resin. I take pine resin, mix that with a bit of ash, and heat it up on an open flame, stir it. If you add a little bit of vegetarian animal poop, you also have glue. But in this case, think match head that burns a lot longer but doesn't start itself. So it'll keep your fire going whenever you're first getting started. I'm going to put my char cloth in this bundle of dried grasses. I'll blow on the char cloth. That will heat up the spark that I have and the little ember that I've created, and it should ignite this. I'm going to do this all at once, that way I don't have to talk as I build it, but now you know what you're going to be seeing. Right, so I'm going to catch my spark now. All right, I got that right on the corner there. If I blow on it, you should be able to see it be getting brighter. I'm going to stick this in my bird's nest, and we will get started. I'll show you what I'm having tonight for dinner. I am going to start with a Knorr-side cheddar broccoli. With that, I have some powdered milk, at least if the cops ask, that's what you better tell them, to go with the milk requirement for that. That'll help make it a little creamier. And I have some salmon I'm going to mix in, sort of like a tuna casserole, except I prefer salmon. I've got a fresh ear of corn I'm going to throw on the fire, just a small one tonight. As a little bonus, I've got some extra cheese. I'm going to cut up a few chunks of this, throw in, and try to make this a little cheesier tonight. And then, of course, we have to wash it down, so it's going to be really good eating. Wish you were here to share it with. I'm here waiting on my dinner to cook, and while I did so, I figured I'd tell you a quick, interesting historical story about Oklahoma. If you're not from Oklahoma, a lot of my friends aren't, and hopefully one day people are watching this from around the world. Either way, you may or may not know, Oklahoma has a lot of trains, and they do frequently stop in the middle of Oklahoma City in order to load and unload cargo. Now, this becomes problematic because they can stop for hours, and there's actually a law in place that says trains cannot stop for more than 2 hours. So you can potentially get stuck in traffic behind a train for over 2 hours. And they frequently will stay over 2 hours because if they're unable to finish loading in time, they'll just pay the fee. And if the people behind you in the traffic line don't want to move, you're going to be stuck waiting. Anyway, that being said, trains are very popular out here, and a local amateur conductor, he was a model train enthusiast essentially, decided he wanted to become an engineer and drive trains. He wanted to be a train conductor. He applied and got into school. He cheated on all of his tests. He wasn't very good at it at all, and he managed to land a job driving a passenger train. Now, again, because he cheated, he was terrible. He just didn't really care. He just wanted to be able to say he was a conductor. So the very first maiden voyage of his passenger train trip that he drove, he managed to crash it, which I didn't think it was that easy to do, but apparently if you don't know what you're doing, you can crash them easy. That's why there's a school for it. Anyway, he killed 3 people in this train crash and was tried and convicted of murder on all 3 accounts. He was sent to death row and given the death penalty after all of his options were expired, after he had tried all of his appeals and they had none of them had gone through. His his execution night finally came. He was sentenced to be killed by electric chair. So when he sat in the chair and midnight struck, the mayor or governor, whomever, never called to give him his second chance. The executioner pulled the switch on the wall. They fried him, and he was still alive. So they tried 2 more times, and for some reason the electricity wasn't affecting him. They tested the chair. Electric was coming through it, but the electric just would not go through his body, so they were forced to release him from death row, a free man, because he was executed by electric chair. He just didn't die from it. And they tried and tried. They could not figure out why the electric wouldn't affect him, but turns out it's because he was just a bad conductor. My macaroni and cheese is done. No. My macaroni and cheese is done. I'm just going to add my salmon at dinner, and just finished cooking my corn as well. So hope you're having something good too. Hey, dinner was fantastic. Really wish you could have had it with me again. I would have shared it with you, I promise. I'm going to wait on it to get a little darker and just stare at the fire. And you're welcome to skip this next part, but do yourself a favor and give yourself about a minute to look into the fire with me. Just enjoy it. Hi, so I'm ready for bed. I'm lying here with the tarp pulled back so I can watch the night sky. I've seen 2 meteors or shooting stars so far. The Leonidas meteor shower is set to peak tonight, November 18th. Currently it's slightly below the horizon, so it shouldn't actually rise up until 12:23 a.m. and hit the horizon. After that I should be able to see them. I've seen a couple so far in the night sky, but I think they're nothing to do with the Leonidas meteor shower. Can also hear that we're still really close to the road, unfortunately, but nothing can be done with that. It's 10 o'clock right now. I'm going to go to bed. Hopefully I'll wake up at some point in the night and get a chance to see some of the meteors. But either way, it's been a pretty good day. The constellations and the astronomy went well in general, so even if I don't manage to see the meteors, I'll be okay. Anyway, have a good night, and I will see you in the morning. Good morning. I apologize ahead of time for all the ambient background noise. I'm right near Highway 9 in the state park, so can't really do much about that now until I get a better camera with a more directional mic. Last night was pretty awesome. I just sat out in my hammock with the tarp off, watching the stars, doing some astronomy. Again, I'll post the screenshots of some of the constellations and things that I spotted at the end of the video. I even tried to take a photo directly of a few of the constellations. It went better than I expected, but they're still not amazing, but pretty cool to know that I can do it, so I enjoy it. I fell asleep listening to a podcast on linguistics. So the podcast is called Ologies by Allie Ward. I cannot recommend them enough. Basically, every week she talks to a different person in the world who studies something fascinating, whether it be something as simple as microbiology, well, simple, I should say common, or unheard of things like a gentleman who studies procrastination and believes there's a version of it that is a disease, and he's done published research on the subject, to rhinology, so the study of your nose. Just beautiful things that you learn, and the linguistics one was absolutely fascinating. Humans are amazing. Anyway, this morning I woke up about 4:30 so I could finish watching the Leonidas meteor shower, and I got really lucky. I had timed it right based on my app that I did earlier tonight, and managed to pitch my hammock directly facing it. So at 4:30, whenever I woke up, I put my chair in recliner mode, and my head was directly facing the constellation where all of the meteors are coming from, and or the direction they're coming from. They're not from the constellation, of course, but I got to see a lot of really big ones that took a few minutes or a few seconds to burn out, and then a lot of really tiny ones as well. So that was pretty awesome. I went ahead and made coffee. I couldn't really go back to sleep anyway. I managed to get an eyelash in my left eye. That's why it's a little red still yet. And by the time I got that eyelash out, I was wide awake anyway. So I went ahead and got up, made coffee, and I made a thank you video to a individual who was really important in my life and has no clue. So I sent that video to him. And other than that, I've just been cleaning up camp. I think I'm going to head out early this morning after breakfast and get home. I promised the wife Chinese for dinner, or for lunch rather, so I'm going to get home and do that. So thanks for coming out on the trip. I'm not going to bother filming the takedown of my hammock setup. It was really humid last night. Everything's a little wet, so I'm just more concerned with getting everything packed so I can get it home and dry. And hopefully you had some fun. I appreciate it, and enjoy the slideshow at the end of the birds and the constellations if that's something that interests you. And I'd encourage you to get out and do this yourself. If you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to get a hold of me. I'm happy to answer them. We'll see you next time.